So she's
I mean,
a
they
serial
sound reasonable.
fraudster. That's called fraud. She's a Me Too victim there. That's absurd.
Blake Lively is facing a massive public backlash after Megyn Kelly exposed her dark past in an unforgiving way. It turns out Blake and her husband have been bullying others for years.
She and her husband are bullies.
4 years, Blake Lively has managed to convince the world she's Hollywood's flawless golden girl, graceful, likable, and effortlessly charming. But it turns out that image is nothing more than a carefully crafted performance, and Megyn Kelly has just...
She seems like kind of a jerk. Wow, she's like kind of a bully. She's rather mean.
In her Gossip Girl days, Blake wasn't just acting. She was playing a strategic game, maneuvering her way into the right circles like a...
She claims he sexual harassed her, and then by the time they premiered the movie, they weren't even speaking to each other. She made him stay in the basement, and Ryan Reynolds turned on him too. And then she claimed that he unleashed a bad PR campaign against her.
In a 2009 interview, Blake casually admitted to turning the Gossip Girl cast against Penn Badgley just because she didn't like him initially. She didn't just ignore him or keep things professional. She actively manipulated the entire cast to ostracize him, just like a high school mean girl with a Hollywood budget.
She wrested his movie away from him and decided to try to hurt him with petty, made-up, out-of-context complaints when he pushed back even in the mildest way.
And here's the kicker. Later, Blake admitted Penn was actually a nice guy. The smear campaign had been a power move, a way for her to make herself the center of attention for no real reason other than to assert control.
2009 Glamour UK interview by Blake Lively. She was on the cover at the time, and in her interview, she admitted to trying to poison the cast of Gossip Girl, which is where she made her name.
But this wasn't a one-off incident. Blake perfected the art of keeping her hands clean while pushing others out of the picture. She knew how to charm the media, maintain a pristine image, and keep her behind-the-scenes machinations hidden. But now, with her legal drama making headlines, there's one thing she didn't expect. No one is rushing to her defense.
Against her co-star, Penn Badgley, who played her love interest, Dan Humphrey, on the show. She said, "At first I was so upset that they had hired him, I actually poisoned the whole cast against him."
None of her Gossip Girl co-stars have come to her aid. Leighton Meester, Penn Badgley, and the rest of the cast have stayed silent. These are the people she worked with for 6 years, and if anyone was going to vouch for her character, it would be now. Yet, their silence speaks volumes.
And she goes on to say, but then they noticed that he wasn't a jerk and was actually a nice, charming person, and almost immediately I realized it too, but it took me about a week to admit it.
Blake's falling out with Leighton Meester is another significant piece of the puzzle. On screen, Serena and Blair were best friends, but behind the scenes, their relationship was a disaster. Blake, obsessed with staying in the spotlight, reportedly grew frustrated with Leighton for focusing more on her acting.
Reports were that Blake Lively and Leighton Meester, who played best friends on that show, were not friends during the 6-season run of the show. Leighton Meester and Penn Badgley and other Gossip Girl co-stars have remained silent in the wake of the Baldoni legal drama.
By the time the show ended, they were no longer speaking. Now that Blake's legal troubles are front-page news, Leighton isn't lifting a finger to defend her. It's almost as if karma is catching up, and this is exactly what Megyn Kelly exposed. Blake's career has been a cycle of manipulation, alliances, and playing the victim when things go wrong.
Meester nor Badgley follow Lively on Instagram.
Whether it was Penn Badgley, Leighton Meester, or now Justin Baldoni, the pattern is always the same. Blake takes control, rewrites the narrative in her favor, and when that control slips, she becomes the misunderstood.
Like, all I do is buy soccer teams that win, sell tequila that people like, or vodka, or whatever it is, and he's like generally stayed above, and now all of a sudden he is in the dirt with it.
In 2022, Blake Lively stood on stage at the Forbes Power Women Summit, effortlessly charming the audience with a speech that was meant to be empowering. But instead, she accidentally revealed her playbook for industry manipulation. What seemed like an inspiring talk about ambition and success turned into a full-blown confession of how she had been secretly...
Blake Lively is caught in old footage, revealing that yes, her secret plan is to always take control of the movies and lie to the directors.
At the time, no one paid much attention. But now, with her entire career under intense scrutiny, that clip is coming back to haunt her in the most spectacular...
Yeah, like Forbes Power Women, and
Yeah.
she's so confident Exactly. I think that's so telling how confident she is to just say, I have no qualms lying to the director, taking control of their movie, pulling the rug from them. Like, oh my God.
With the audience hanging on to her every word, Blake casually admitted to faking her way into roles by pretending to be exactly what directors wanted, just another eager actress excited to be part of the project. But once she landed the role, the real takeover began. She started injecting her creative input, rewriting scripts, and making executive decisions that weren't hers to make, slowly pushing out.
What is happening here? I would show up on a set. I knew that they just wanted me to show up and look cute and stand on a little pink sticker where I'm supposed to go and say what I'm supposed to say, but I also knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me.
She even laughed about how some directors felt betrayed when they realized what she was doing, as if hijacking projects was some kind of genius power move rather than outright deception. This wasn't a slip of the tongue or an exaggeration, it was Blake Lively on record, laying out her entire strategy for career domination. And now, just 2 years later, Justin Baldoni is taking her to court for doing exactly what she boasted
to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character. And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that. And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor.
Baldoni's lawsuit accuses Blake of pretending to be just an actress in order to push him out of his own movie, override his creative vision, and take control of the project. And here's the kicker. Baldoni's production company financed the film, secured the rights from Colleen Hoover, and spent years developing it. But once Blake got involved, she did exactly what she'd admitted to in 2022. She hijacked
that. For them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do.
This isn't an isolated incident. It's a pattern Blake has been perfecting for years. It starts with small creative suggestions before she gradually steamrolls the entire production.
I felt like I don't want to just be an actor. I want to have more authorship.
Her strategy worked. Directors who resisted were either ignored, outmaneuvered, or quietly pushed aside. Blake knew exactly how to work the system, gain trust, get cast, become indispensable, and then take control. It was a step-by-step formula that had
I don't think she even realizes what she's admitting. Sometimes they'd let me and sometimes they wouldn't. And that then she goes further and says, I would just lie to them in the audition process and make them think I'm just an actress to do what they want.
Until Justin Baldoni. Unlike the big-name directors Blake had manipulated in the past, Justin wasn't a powerhouse with studio backing. He wasn't a Christopher Nolan or a Denis Villeneuve. He was a rising director without the clout to fight back. Blake saw an opportunity and played nice at first, acting like she was just another team player. But before long, she was rewriting scripts, making executive decisions.
Well, yeah, that's what you did. You knowingly admitted that's what you do. They want an actress, they hire an actress, they pay you to be an actress, that's your job. But then you do exactly what Justin's accusing you of.
Slowly but surely, Baldoni was pushed to the sidelines. By the time It Ends With Us premiered, Blake had completely erased him from the picture. The man who fought to bring the film to life wasn't even allowed to attend his own premiere, while Blake soaked up the spotlight. Baldoni was forced to stay in the basement. Quite literally, the ultimate power moved to show.
Imagine if Justin had just known this, if this clip had gone viral before to avoid this whole mess. I'm just the entitlement of her that she thinks this is okay and proudly displaying as we're women so we can just lie and cheat and steal our way in to control these big movies.
But here's the problem. Blake got too cocky. The very words she smugly spoke in 2022 are now evidence against her. What she once flaunted as an example of her influence is now proof of her widespread manipulation. And as more people connect the dots, it's becoming painfully clear. Blake Lively didn't just take over It Ends With Us. She's been running this con.
What it sounds like is that she's not interested in being a part of a team. She just wants to own it all. And that's fine. If that is your method of working, then do that. But you have to create your own projects. You have to put yourself in that position that you are in charge, not take it from somebody else.